Hey, what's up, you guys? It's IAmTheLionRider, and welcome back to Ocean State Zoo. So, in the last episode, we kind of went over the front entrance of the zoo, as well as kind of the overall premise of ZSU. So, in today's video, I thought we would actually probably start off with probably the very first major habitat, which is kind of daunting, I'm not gonna lie. It was kind of scary because in this series, it's just a kind of case where my first habitat is going to kind of have long-lasting implications about the future of the series, of like what I'm able to do in this area and how the layout of my zoo is going to go. So I thought there would be no better animal to start off with than my harbor seal enclosure. So you might be seeing me right now like kind of plotting out the overall pool shape and stuff, and I'm not gonna lie, I was an idiot. The first time I actually did this, I was immediately placing down plaster pieces, like doing this like kind of faux concrete like retaining wall and stuff to hold the water in, and then I realized, oh yeah, I can use the fence system and then just make a concrete thing that way. So you see me doing that there, and I didn't realize, like, I guess concrete walls are now FlexiColor, so I didn't actually realize that, but that's really cool. So, I mean, my friends explained to me, apparently it was done a few updates ago, but I didn't notice because I rarely use concrete walls. But anyways, so I actually got that all set. I was using a faux, or a sculpture of a seal for, like, reference for the overall scale to make sure that was good. Because I wanted this pool to be semi-big. I wanted the idea of an enclosure right at the front of the zoo that was kind of where they sunk a lot of their budget in for the zoo itself. So it was going to be one of the more elaborate habitats, and then other habitats for smaller animals might not get as much attention for the detail and stuff. But overall, I think I did a pretty good idea for like holding at least the two harbor seals I have, and then in the future, if I was to obtain anything else, I mean, I could probably put them in as well, and that would be really nice. But as you can see, I'm just kind of fiddling around with the water level and trying to get like the overall aesthetic done, because in this episode you actually see me kind of setting the, I guess, overall tone for the environment of the actual zoo, and I think that's a pretty cool, interesting aspect when we get to it. But right now, like I said, I'm just kind of getting the pool all set, and then we start on the rockwork. So I'll kind of talk about the rockwork a little bit. So I kind of wanted to go for a very traditional pinniped enclosure that includes a lot of rough faux rockwork. It was inspired by a lot of different local pinniped enclosures. I kind of went for more of a, I guess you could say, mystic aquarium-esque rockwork mixed with the, I guess you could say, it's not real, it's like the layout of Roger Williams kind of shape-wise without the underwater viewing, but a little bit of Buttonwood's enclosure as well, in the form of it's just kind of a very simple, you look down on the seals, and that was the idea. But like I said, I wanted to have a kind of rough idea of the rockwork to be a little bit fancier. So the Serengeti rocks from the safari pack were really useful for that, and I was going for like almost like some jaggedy rocks and stuff that kind of make a cool like silhouette for the enclosure, which I think really helped sell the idea, along with like when you see the final product when it has like the rest of the forest in the background. It definitely looks really nice. So I basically just fumbled around with rockwork for a while, because the Serengeti rocks, they're kind of, they are the Planet Coaster rocks at the end of the day, and they're kind of difficult to get those kind of like smoother, like flat ends on them, so I was kind of mixing that a little bit. And then this was actually a little bit of Roger Williams kind of bleeding in. So in Bubba's habitat in Roger Williams, they have a lot of these little like overhangs on his rock wall that is, I guess you could say, the theming. Like, I wouldn't say Roger Williams has any elaborate theming, but his enclosure does have some faux rock work, and they have kind of like this faux cliffside with some like kind of aquatic coastal grass and stuff growing out of the cliffs, and so I wanted to include that here. But right here you can see me actually placing down one of the new pieces that I'm going to be working with from the North America pack, and that are the pine needles. So pine needles are a huge portion of northeastern forests and stuff, and I didn't realize it until I started using them. They're really important to getting the aesthetic of like the Northeast down. And so you mix in like some of those like tall elm trees slash oak trees mixed in with pines and Douglas firs and stuff. Then you actually start getting something that looks like a actual forest that you could find here in New England or Canada or something of that nature. And it really helps. So the other thing is I am kind of going for like I wanted this to be faux rockwork in the front, but a type of like shelter in the back that would be essentially just a wooden shack. So this was kind of like the otter enclosure from Capron Park Zoo, where it's just an otter building on the side that is essentially just a wooden building with like a simple roof, and then they have the indoor holdings for, in their case, the otters, but in my case, it'll be seals. So I think that worked out really well. I was debating if I wanted to use the Safari Pack shingles or the Europe Pack ones, and I wanted to give Sib some love, so I used the European Midnight shingles, and I think they work really well. It actually helps a lot. Then, like I said, I'm kind of going in and using a lot of different, I guess you could say, modded like terrain and stuff, because I just want my zoos lately to be very different than everyone else's, Planet Zoo stuff. So I wanted to use a lot of the pine needles and gravel and dirt, and you might have even seen in the last episode the wood chip mulch and stuff, just to get it so that it actually looks pretty unique and distinct from each other. And right here you can kind of see me messing around with the, I guess, aesthetic of how I wanted to do the front pond. And then what you saw right there is then the game crashed, because I think I accidentally hit a modded item that I wasn't supposed to. It's totally my fault. And you might see that a few times, because I think I did it like 3 times in a row. And overall, I probably lost like 10 minutes of progress. So luckily, autosave, I gotta say, Frontier, that is the best feature in the game. The fact that it autosaves every 15 minutes pretty much guarantees that at minimum, you're never gonna lose, that much work. So luckily, that was really useful. So from that, you can see me, I just kind of end up bouncing around basically the same thing for a little bit, but I think it came out pretty good. So right here, I wanted the back of the door to be very much like a kind of simple backstage that will just be like a little dirt path that leads from the main one. And then here I am doing that thing that I was going to do right before, and then I think I crashed shortly after this, so I have to do it again. But I was trying to figure out how I wanted the viewing platform for the actual seal viewing to look. So I wanted to go for almost like a port theme at first, where I was like, oh, do I want to have it like be like kind of decorated, like a dock or something? But ultimately I ended up with just a simple like asphalt path. I thought that was a smarter move. And it kind of helped, because like, even though I want this zoo to be like a little, like have a little bit of a budget, it doesn't have to be, or like, even though I wanted to have some money put into it, I didn't want it to look overly expensive. So I'm trying to limit the amount of true theming, because the other thing with ZSU is, since I'm going to be trading animals away and getting new animals in frequently and stuff, and I don't know what I'm going to get at any time, I could just get animals just dropped into my lap, and then I have to like totally change stuff. I don't want to get too sold on making themed areas, because that could just be really detrimental if I made like a full African area and then, oh boy, all your African animals are gone. Okay, well, now what do I do? So I like the idea of just keeping it very loose and vague, which, like I said, it kind of helps sell the idea of like the ideas of the local zoos that I'm trying to replicate. So stuff like Stone and Buttonwood and Capron and stuff, they don't really have themes. The themes, if anything, like at Stone, they technically have a mini South America area or Central America area, but that's really it for theming. And then they consider like the north half of the zoo Asia, because it has Markhor and Snow Leopard, but it really isn't. It's just kind of vague. Buttonwood is very similar. Buttonwood they technically say there's an Asia section because the red pandas are near the Asian elephants, and then the, you know, aquatic animals are all kind of near each other because they have the otters, beavers, and seals next to each other. But again, very, very loose definition of theming. So I kind of like that idea. And so once again, we just saw my second crash, but I think that is it. That should be the second and last crash for this video. And then I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do for the fencing for this build. So I found this fence. I think it's one of the New World fences, and I was really reluctant to use it because I'm like, oh god, it's a base game fence? What? And it's not FlexiColor, it'll look horrible. But weirdly enough, I couldn't really find anything else to, like, that would look better, and so it kind of worked pretty well. It has that kind of harbor seal fence aesthetic with the mesh in it, but then it's just a wooden fence, so it's definitely cheap enough that it could be, you know, something that a lower budget zoo would be able to afford. So the next thing that you see me doing over here, I kind of wanted to balance out the surrounding area from the front, because like I said, we're kind of working on the front of the zoo as a big focus. And so I kind of just wanted to fix up some of the architecture inside of the gift shop and stuff, and how you would exit the zoo. So exiting the zoo, I was kind of, again, ripping off Roger Williams a little bit. So I wanted just a simple chain link fence that has just a gate that, you know, you enter in from the fancy entrance but exit out through just the little side chain link, and then there will be a person waiting there and they can let you out. And then you might be seeing like this other fence that I have kind of like with the barbed wire and stuff, and that was kind of intentional. So what I have noticed is a lot of zoos have this kind of fencing where they do have like some sort of like chicken wire or something along the top to, you know, kind of deter people from breaking into the zoo and stuff. It's actually pretty common in most, you know, buildings and stuff as well. It's just a deterrent. And so I liked the idea, and the new cobblestone like wall piece that's from the Europe pack, when you dye it the right way, add some decals and stuff, it makes it look a lot more realistic. And so I really like it. I actually built it for Cambridge, which is, again, another New England zoo that we're working on. But that's my collab one, and I was like, you know what, that actually looks really, really good. So I'm going to use it here. I don't actually know if we'll use it in Capron ultimately, but I'm glad that I found some use for it here in Ocean State. So there we go, my good old Steve Irwin as reference, and then there is the chain link path, and yeah, I think it looks really good. It's just a nice little side entrance slash exit, and it'll be really good. And so from here, I think I just do a little bit of foliage work. So I've been really, really liking foliage with this project. It's kind of different from what I'm used to, because funnily enough, all of the foliage that I've had to do for all of my existing New England zoos was not able to accurately represent New England. So before, I didn't have mods or anything similar, and so I was just kind of at the mercy of what the base game had. So I was using Brazil nut trees and, you know, the oak trees and stuff, just because that's what the game provided, that were like 10 feet tall. And I don't want that, so I wanted something very different. But that pretty much wraps up the harbor seal enclosure. I should mention I have two boys. I have, their names are Milo and Orwell. You're probably like, why'd you name them that? I don't know, I just really like the names. It was just one of those things where I was just like, yeah, those sound like appropriate harbor seal names. So Milo and Orwell are going to be the two harbor seal boys that you can meet at the, you know, front of the zoo. And now we are actually going to work on the, I guess, third exhibit, because if we're counting Betty, the hornbill's habitat, this is the third habitat in Ocean State. And this is going to be our golden eagle enclosure. So, funny story about the golden eagle. So, I had this whole idea of, with eagles, I wanted to have like a Greek god kind of name, and I really like the name Ares. So I was like, okay, cool, we're gonna name our golden eagle Ares. Then, shortly after, I realized, oh, my golden eagle's a girl. So I kind of like that in the lore, they kind of realized that too. Like, it's just, oh, we have a female. Okay, so now our golden eagle's name is going to be Athena, which is equally appropriate because, you know, same God of War-esque, you know, vibe, but Athena was also known for owls, so, you know, it's kind of appropriate. So it's in the raptor family, and I think it worked really nice. So this golden eagle enclosure was kind of based off of a few different, like, enclosure ideas. So I was looking at different types of roadside zoos, and I found one eagle enclosure that I really, really liked and I wanted to replicate. So I'll actually pull up a picture of it right here. And it looked really good. I liked the shape of it, but I wanted to make it my own a little bit, so I took some inspiration from some of the other eagle enclosures around New England, of course. Gotta make sure it's very in theme. And I kind of took some inspiration from the shacks that are now in Roger Williams. Roger Williams actually just recently built a shack that the eagles can go in during the rain and stuff. But actually, I think the first one around here that I've seen do it was technically Stone. So I gotta give Stone credit. Stone had the kind of idea to give the eagles a shelter while not having, like, the craziest habitat. They have a very similar just aviary that's just kind of netted, and then it's in the woods. And I really like that look that sometimes just in these smaller zoos, they took the native New England environment, which is usually just forest, and then they just put up some chain link, put up some wood. There you go. That's a bobcat enclosure. That's a lynx enclosure. That's an eagle enclosure. That's a porcupine enclosure. And I think Stone does it really well. Stone has like this kind of middle section of the zoo that is all local North American animals with just these makeshift chain link enclosures. And I thought it looked really cool. So I actually think it fits really well for Ocean State since it's cheaper, and yeah, I really like it. So the other thing that I thought was funny is, even though we technically don't have real birds in Planet Zoo yet, I thought, let's make it seem like it's a functional zoo, right? So I actually put in a habitat gate into the enclosure, even though it's not functional, it's not a real habitat or anything, but I thought that would be a nice little thing. And then, funnily enough, even though I used the Golden Eagle prop mod that I made for the Birds of the World pack, I actually renamed the blueprints to be Athena, so it actually has a name and stuff if you click on it, which I thought that was like a nice little thing that if you want to check out the zoo and stuff, you can see it that way. But again, like, a thing that I really liked about this enclosure was just getting all the woodwork and stuff, because I like stuff that has some function to it, and being able to do all the wooden support beams and stuff was really, really nice. So another thing that I really like doing with this, and this was a huge portion of the eagle enclosure, was figuring out all of the new log pieces and stuff and how to make some semi-realistic looking climbing frames. Because obviously bird perches are not a thing. So you have to make do with what we got, but luckily, I gotta say, within the last, I think, Europe pack update, we got quite a bit of cool new logs and stuff, so I gotta hand it to them. It would have been nice if we got logs of, like, each size that they gave us, of each different tree, but they kind of gave us one of each, which is really weird. I don't know, Frontier, just, if you're listening, please just make the different make all the branches that you did for the birch ones, and all of the new climbing branches sizes, but for all the different tree types. Make one for birch, one for oak, one for pine, one for, you know, whatever, acacia. That'd be nice, because it'd be really appreciated. But with that being said, that pretty much, you know, kind of wraps up what I did for today's episode. Like I said, I just kind of decorate and beautify the rest of the surrounding area a little bit. But I hope you guys are really enjoying Ocean State Zoo as much as I am. It's been really, really fun. I already have some kind of internal trading going on behind the scenes that is really exciting. Leaf and I kind of have like a little pact where we're going to start doing some things very soon. And yeah, I think I am really excited. So I should mention quickly before we go, I technically cannot start trading until 50% of my animals are on exhibit. So currently, obviously, we only have the 3 species right now, but once we hit that 7, we will be able to start trading and auctions and store and get all the new animals. So I hope you guys have enjoyed today's episode, and here we are. Here you can see all of our new animals. This is Orwell and Milo, as I mentioned, as well as Athena. So if you enjoy Ocean State, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And of course, I am IAmTheLionRider, and I will see you next time.